Okay, so my name is John Taylor from ReptileApartment.com, HerpHouseMag.com, as well as ReptileLivingRoom.com. Today, basically, we're going to break down this ball python enclosure and then set up Rickys Reptile Enclosure the proper way. So, without further ado, here we go. We're going to first take out the screen lid because this was a fish tank at one time. Well, actually, it never was a fish tank, but that's what it was actually designed for. So anyway, there's the screen lid. Now, what you're going to notice about this actually particular enclosure here is there's another lid here. The reason it has no screen on here is because my Siamese cat decided to crawl on top of the enclosure and fall through it when I originally had the enclosure set up. So, needless to say, she is fine and dandy, still alive. The python did not eat her, although I did find one of the pythons in the coffee cup cabinet, which was strangely interesting and quite frightening at 5 o'clock in the morning when you're walking in to get your cup of coffee and you grab hold of a ball python tail instead of a freaking coffee cup. Tends to get a little bit alarming. Obviously, since then I've rebuilt the enclosure, and you can see I'm taking off the background here. A lot of people feel that these backgrounds, and this is just aquarium background, you could buy it any reptile shop or aquarium shop, what have you. A lot of people feel that the python actually feels more secure if you close it in on three sides and it can't see out. A lot of people say that they can't figure out that there's glass, they can't see it, can't figure it out that that's a boundary for them. Now, what I do is every month, or at least every 2 weeks, I clean out the entire enclosure. So with this one, and at the same time, what I do is feed my snakes. So every 2 weeks, my snakes get fed, and the enclosure gets cleaned out. Now then, going on to feeding, we always feed frozen thawed. Probably shouldn't put the brand name on there, but oh well. Frozen thawed mouse or rat, whatever is appropriate to your size of snake. And there's said small rat. Nummy. Goes in the bucket. Now, I've handled rat. Don't stick hand in an enclosure with the snake in it. It will probably bite you, and it's going to hurt extremely bad. Snakes have 6 rows of teeth and know how to use every row of them. And I'm going to do right now what I'm telling you not to do, which is reach in and grab the snake and probably get bitten. So this should be interesting. We'll find out. Okay, there's a snake, and yes, of course, it's ready to strike. Alright, so this should be, let's see. Since I didn't bring my snake hook, and I have a stick, I'm going to use a stick without trying to destroy anything to move the snake. Quickly grab snake and put snake in bucket, and snake is now feeding. Alright, so there's what not to do when trying to feed your ball python. Okay, so now we have a white trash can, so you can basically just empty the enclosure in here. A lot easier if you use a dustpan. If you have a shop vac, even better. All you have to do is just suck up the bark and turds and whatever else is in here and be done with it. So anyway, rather than bore you with cleaning out an enclosure, we're going to keep talking a little bit about ball pythons. As most people know, they do come from Africa. Probably the #1 most imported snake in the world, out of Africa actually. Let's see. As far as captive care goes, they need a humid environment because they do come from lowland, forested regions and grasslands. And a lot of people have a lot of different opinions on ball pythons and captive care. I have read that on several of the forums actually that they're a nervous snake. I don't know where these people get their information, but nervous is definitely not a ball python trait that I've run into. They're a very outgoing snake, easily handled, and most of them get a good sized female will get maybe 6 feet. That's a pretty large female. Now, as far as males go, maybe 3 to 4 foot. They're pretty small. They're a heavy-bodied snake. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Usually about 85 to 90 as far as temperature-wise is concerned. And that's for the basking area, which isn't hard to achieve. If you do keep them in a fish tank type enclosure, which, you know, obviously I don't recommend, but, you know, it's pretty much what we've known for now. However, in today's market, we have something even better. And that I'm going to show you right now. And this is your background. Basically, what I have here is from Rickys Reptile Enclosures. And it's an acrylic ball python enclosure. So it's acrylic. Really nice. Holds humidity really well. Actually has a lock on the front of it, which I'm actually going to put on right now because... Alright, so Rickys Reptile Enclosures. So here we go. Flip it up. I would put it top down, and this is going to face you forward. This is actually the front of the enclosure, and it is upside down. So just so you know. You buy the appropriate heat mat of whichever brand name you choose. I have personal preferences, but they don't pay me to sponsor them, so I'm not going to. So up and said heat mat. Heat mat. Good stuff. Need one for Rickys Reptile Enclosures. Now, you basically have to decide what side is going to be the warm side and what side is going to be the cool side. For me, I'm just going to set it up right over here on the cool side. This is going to be the warm side, this is going to be the cool side. Basically, it's going to heat it up to about 85 degrees, so we're good there. Take it, go right to the edge with it. Make sure your other edge is all lined up. Set it down right there. Press into place, making sure that there's no air bubbles or anything like that. If you get air bubbles in this thing, it's basically not coming into contact with the enclosure, and you're going to have dead space where there's no heat going through, which probably isn't going to have that much effect because it is a larger heat mat. Okay, so now that we've got this set up, you can actually press down on this side. You can actually see right through it to see where the air pockets are. So I would go through and press on it a little bit, or run an edge on it like this. I'm using the edge of the table. It's probably not really recommended, but you know, that's okay. So yeah, I want as much contact surface as possible with this. So what you can do is probably run a dowel or a stick over it or something like that that, you know, presses out the air bubbles. I'm just using my hand personally. I don't think anything works better than a personal touch to it. So okay, so we got that set up there. The heater is in place. Now we install or apply, however you want to put it, substrate. Now a lot of people are recommending coconut substrate. Personally, it looks like crap to me. I always use the old standby of ground cover bark. It's a lot cheaper than coconut, works the same, holds humidity really well. I mean, the stuff only costs maybe $3 at the Home Depot or any hardware store that you can think of. So that's what I use. So once again, taking the dustpan, just go in here, get yourself a shovel full of substrate. Now when you first use it, it's going to be wet or moist. And that moisture is not going to harm the snake, no matter what snake you're using it with. And you only want to put right about an inch or two in there, because you really don't need that much substrate. It's not like it's a Kenyan sand boa that's going to bury itself in the substrate at all. You just want, the substrate is basically there to keep the animal actually off the heat mat itself. So, and I'm tired of shoveling, so I'm just going to go ahead and start dumping. You know, it doesn't have to be an exact science. You can just eyeball this. Just far as substrate is concerned. So that looks about right for what I'm using it for. Get that to the side. Hopefully it doesn't knock over the center table. Alright, no it didn't. So basically when we turn on the heater, what's going to happen is this enclosure is going to warm up, and it's going to warm up this substrate, which this actually helps the animal shed. If it's a snake or a lizard, it helps them shed, helps develop moisture. They do come from a tropical environment, so that's one of the best things you can use. Hide box, always got to have one. I'm setting this about half on, half off of the heat side, so that way if they wanted to, they can decide, you know, they want to be warm or cooler. The other thing I like to do in most of my enclosures, put 2 high boxes in there. That way they have a choice of, you know, either hot or warm side, or hot or cool side rather. I always put in a piece of sandblasted grapevine as well, just to give them something to rub against. Now you notice I put this in a vertical orientation in the actual enclosure. Now the reason I do that is because whether you believe it or not, and you know, it's my personal experience that I've seen it, ball pythons actually do climb quite a lot. They actually enjoy, well, whether they enjoy it or not, it's a different story. It seems that they actually use vertical surfaces to hang out and get closer to basking spots if you should have a warm spot up above them. And next we're going to put in the water bowl. Okay, so like I said, the vertical orientation with this limb over here. Actually, what I'm going to do, kind of change this up a little bit. Get this down in here. And I do like the vertical orientation, so what I'm going to do is actually set this to the back. The water bowl, anyway. There we go. And you got to get this stuff stable enough so it doesn't fall over on him. Not like he's going to get injured by it, but still, you just don't want, you know, don't want your snake up there and then falling over on it. And this is how we set up our Rickys Reptile Enclosure. Buy yourself a Rickys Reptile Enclosures, and you'll have a lot less issues. It's real simple. You know, you open it up from the front. You know, it's a front loading, which the humidity thing is probably the biggest factor with Rickys Reptile Enclosures. Spray it once a week, humidity's done. The other type of enclosures that we were using, you'd spray it at least 2 to 3 times a week. So, and I'm not going to BS you, they are a little bit more expensive than some of the other enclosures out there. But when you look at a time expense, you're going to spend more time screwing around with the fish tank type enclosures than you are with Rickys Reptile Enclosures. No, I am not a paid sponsor, and nor does Ricky, you know, pay reptileapartment.com any type of money. We don't ask for that. Hopefully he'll become a sponsor later. So if you watch this, Ricky, please become a sponsor. We'd love to have you sponsor our shows. No, really, Ricky, we would. Anyway, just kidding. They're excellent enclosures. I plan on purchasing some for our corn snakes. Our one corn snake. We do have a red-tailed boa that I'm still not sure how I'm going to work that out. As she gets bigger, obviously, with the enclosure size being, you know, on a smaller level. Can't put a 12-foot boa in here, obviously. But for a ball python, definitely works out very well. So without further ado, we're going to update you in about a week or so. Let you know how this Rickys Reptile Enclosures worked out as far as holding humidity and what have you. Talk to you next time.